Welcome back to the Celtics Nation Rise podcast. I'm your host, Griffin Aldrich. Alongside me, I got my co-hosts, Seamus Zarlingo, Daniel Miguel, and David Caires. Welcome back to episode 50, presented by Celtics Talk Weekly. It's crazy because episode 1 wasn't even a whole year ago. But to start off the podcast, you know what was a year ago yesterday? That's right. The Boston Celtics raised banner 18 a year ago yesterday. Um, so for this podcast, I just wanted to really quick, just to start it off. I want to say how grateful I am to join Celtics Talk Weekly. You know, we have Seamus over here, the mastermind behind all these amazing graphics, that you see here today. So it's just boosted the content to a new level. So huge shout out to you, Seamus. Thank you for your hard work and dedication to this program. And I'm excited to see what's in store for the future with Celtics Nation Rise, Celtics Talk Weekly, and we're ready to rock and roll. That's right. But starting it off, I want to go around the panel really quick and ask, what was it like to win Banner 18 for you guys? Seamus, let's start off with you. Where were you? How was it to win Banner 18? And
Well,
episode 50, big episode 50. How's it feel for episode 52?
episode 50, this one definitely by the graphics here, you can tell it's a special one. And the graphics inspired Griffin by one of your favorite Celtics designs, the Celtics City jersey back in 22-23. Things didn't end great for the Celtics that year in the Eastern Conference Finals. However, in 2024, as we're going to talk about here, the Boston Celtics, they won the title. But my story when it comes to the experience of the Celtics winning the title. This banner back here, first of all, shout out to the Dallas Mavericks for winning game four. And shout out to the Celtics for losing game four because this banner back here was not ready when game four was going on. This banner, if we would have won game four, this banner it would have needed to be finished after the title. However, because we had those extra couple of days in between game four and game five before winning the title, I finished this banner the day of the title. So a year ago yesterday, finished that banner. We won the title. I had a replica trophy, which I don't know if anybody saw. Well, our viewership here, if you want to go back and look at it after the podcast, of course, our
Uh,
former post games in the past, November, December, January, I had the replica trophy in the back. I made this kind of makeshift trophy where I took a bunch of Pringles cans and wrapped it around a candle holder and wrapped a bunch of gold wrapping paper around it. So I had a fake trophy, I had a fake banner, and I call everything fake, but it was really tangible. It was real at the time, and I threw a celebration as well. I had all the I had a ton of water bottles filled up ready to go to for after the game, and there was this whole trophy presentation at my house with all of my family, and it was like the Celtics were celebrating on TV, but I very much had my own little niche celebration as well last year. I have a lot of clips from that moment, a lot of photos, like definitely something we should present on the program later on in time. But that championship, I felt like my celebration had all the components of the Celtics celebration as well. The banner was there, the trophy was there, the presentation was there, the waterworks were there, all of the media. It's like I had cameras going all over the place. I threw this whole production on when we won the title. So even though I wasn't around Celtics Talk Weekly at the time in which we won the title, still filmed a lot of content. And even going towards the title, I was at game four in Indianapolis. A lot of film from there as well. And just the title run, I'll always remember it. It kind of brought out the creativity inside of myself. I've always been a creative person, but the Celtics winning the title, it made me look at all of my old work when it came to the Celtics, right? All the old writing, all the old graphics, all the old coverage of the Celtics from day one all the way to the point in which they won the title. And I'll forever remember that moment as a moment where the team sparked personally my creativity, but also did something that I'll remember forever. Celtics Nation will remember forever. And just in the moment, I remember thinking, this is something that doesn't happen every year. Last year, we were losing in the Eastern Conference Finals. We're used to losing in the Eastern Conference Finals. We're used to making a deep playoff run, but we're not used to winning it all. Where that's just not the thing. And in 2022, we got over the hump of the Eastern Conference, made the finals. didn't get over the hump of actually winning. So 2024 is just a very special year for the Celtics and winning their title. And 25 would have been a very special year too, but it's very hard to beat the first title, the first iteration of anything. It's like the first movie of anything is always the best movie. That's what it feels like for the 2024 Celtics is it's just the best movie. It's like from start to finish, they dominated throughout the season, and even to the point where I was able to spawn up a bunch of championship celebration items before they actually won the championship last year. And just the whole experience of it, I'll never forget where I was the entire playoff run. And I remember spending a lot of the playoff run watching it with my closest friends and family, and that's always those are always memories that I'll cherish in the long run. Is oh, back in 2024, it's like where were you when the Celtics won the title and when they were actually pursuing the title? I always remember I was with my family, I was with my friends, and we were having a good time. It's like that was that's just the gist. It was a great time within Celtics Nation. And I gotta say too, the Pritchard shot when that went in, I mean that night it
That
was
was great.
you knew we were winning the title. And when that happened, I was thinking that is a Boston sports history moment right there. Peyton Pritchard making like that is a moment. That is just one that will be, if you were to put together a montage of best Boston playoff highlights of all time, that one has to be on there. The Peyton
Seamus,
Pritchard bank shot is just absolutely insane. So great day, 617. Always got to cherish it.
may I say that shape shifted his career too, right there. That shot, like it turned him into the sixth man of the year. So we gotta give Pritchard some credit too. So, but Daniel, what about you? What was your experience like in episode 50? Thank you, Daniel, for joining us a couple months ago, I would say. So new to the program too. So episode 50, and how was banner 18 for you?
Yeah, like Griffin said, I haven't been a member of this team for much long, but from the episodes I've been in, this is a really good crew, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Episode 50, not as special to me as it is to some of the others, but I think it's still nice to see that number 50 on the banners here as you guys are watching this. But banner 18, I think it was about like 2 or 3 years ago, after the Lakers. Oh, it was 2020, right? Sorry. After the Lakers won that 17th Mickey Mouse ring, the talk was always like both teams started 17. Who's going to be the next one to get that jump, to get that 18th banner? And I'm really glad it was us. Like Seamus said, I still get chills. I still get goosebumps from that Perrin Pritchard 3, that half quarter he hit. And also just like the team we had back then. It was like, it feels like a completely different team than it was this past season. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was like the chemistry, but like the vibes are just better on that 2024 ring team. And you know who else was better? Porzingis, because I remember he put belt to ass to those to the Mavs, especially in that game. I think it was that game where he had like 2 minutes into the game, he had like 10 points, like five straight made field goals in a row and something like that. Or like I just miss that Porzingis, like how effective it was to that championship team. And of course, you gotta give thanks to Pritchard, but I think Porzingis was really the guy that like made all of that possible. I wish we could have seen that same Porzingis last season, but obviously didn't work out. But banner 18, I was in my living room with my family. And I'm the only Celtics fan in the family, so like I was like forced to make that. I was forcing my parents and my brothers to like watch with me, and it was honestly so cool. Like our TV has those like those LED like lights in the background.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, we had those like green. We had them green, and then like we had some like lights in the house that were green too. And like it was just an epic moment. I think what I remember most from that, two things I remember most is one, um the focus being on Al Horford for a little bit because of like the topic being Al Horford finally getting his ring, and like with this Celtics team and like the just the loyalty Al Horford has with the Celtics and everything he's been through to finally get that ring in that moment. Big moment for Al, and I love that for him. He's one of my favorite players on this Celtics team. And also the second moment that I cherish is when Tatum's just walking across the court like after the three and like doing a timeout or something, and Tatum's just walking like doing the ring motion with his finger and like Holiday patting his chest. Tatum actually posted that yesterday with a quote that gave me chills, like really like goosebumps. He said, let me pull it up. Yeah, Tatum said, "Flowers die and diamonds don't. We'll be back." That's such a cold moment and such a cool thing for Tatum to say. I think we're gonna see one of the like hopefully Tatum comes back not only as good as he was, but better than he was before the injury, and we're gonna see a different Tatum when he comes back. But yeah, Ben 18 special moment. Boston was going crazy at that time. I was like watching the news and everything, and it was just like it was nice to watch that finally happen. So yeah, that's where I stand. Beautiful moment.
I want to add
Incredible.
this too onto the LED lights point. I had a bunch of LED lights set up, and the story of these LED lights, I bought them at the beginning of the season to light up my room because my room light at the time, which the one you got the one you guys are seeing right now, the light, that's the fixed light, right? Last year, all the dingy lighting, it's like my light was broken, so I bought a bunch of LED lights. They lasted me all season long. And then finally, moments before we won the title, literally minutes ticking down in the fourth quarter, seconds ticking down in the fourth quarter, I stepped on them. They go completely dark, and that's it. And the Celtics win the title, and those lights just lasted the whole. Like they lasted one season. It was our championship season, and that's it. The LED lights went out immediately as we won the title, and it's like the Celtics magic ran out in that moment. Although they did win, we did have a couple of gold medalists a couple months later. So
You
I got to
got
say that.
the
But
green lights right now.
it,
I just put them on for you guys.
Yeah, and right, exactly like Griffin's in the background there, see on the ceiling. And also, Daniel, I'll say this: you mentioned your family, not too many Celtics fans. I've basically converted my family into all Celtics fans. Like my little cousin, he's now been a Celtic fan for years. He didn't start out that way. He started out as just a floating basketball personality, but then it's like, no, you're gonna be converted into a Celtics fan. I had my entire family. I mean, I had my whole Celtics wardrobe out that night. Everybody was wearing the same colored green jerseys. Like we were all coordinated in the green jerseys as the Celtics were on court. Like that's what I've always I thought about this too in high school. Like anybody going into high school, like anybody listening to this, if you take your ID picture every year, I'm not sure if y'all have IDs in high school. I had IDs where I'm from here. But if you have IDs, right? I always thought of an idea, match the jersey with the year in which because every year at media day, right, the Celtics will wear either green or white. It's like if you're taking an ID photo every year, it's like white jersey one year, green jersey, like Griffin, you're wearing the city jerseys, like you could match. But that's what my family and I did last year for game 5 is I had all my Celtics wardrobe out, all the green jerseys, and everybody everybody was able to wear a green jersey the same night as the Celtics wore green while they won the title. So that was I'm very much you know I've converted my entire family pretty much. It's like it didn't matter anybody's fandom at that moment in time. It's like everybody was a Celtics fan in my house during that title run.
Well, while you're saying that too, I'm trying to pull up a picture now. I actually, during my graduation, I had a Celtics jersey underneath. So after I had the Celtics jersey out,
No, the reason I bring up the high school thing is or college. It could be a college thing. You could
yeah.
do
But
ID
like
there. It could be a
the
work thing
picture,
too. Could be work thing. Probably less professional to do that for work. But
yeah,
it's like
like
I
literally,
tried in high school. I matched my freshman year, and then the rest it was
like
like I
one of
didn't.
these. It peaked the college ID. I did not have a Celtics jersey on that day. That's the one day I didn't though. I didn't know I was taking a picture though.
No, but that's the thing is like you know younger versions of oneself. It's like oh the jersey is a good
Oh
idea. Then as you get older, you're like oh maybe the jersey isn't a good idea for the
no,
work ID
I'm gonna
photo.
tell you though. Every single, actually, in my driver's license too. I'm not gonna leak my driver's license, but I am
I was
wearing.
like, "Are you about to throw it up on camera right
No,
now?" I was
I'm
like, "Are
not
we
about
about to?
to.
We're
I'm
gonna have
not
to cut
about
this
to
whole
leak.
thing."
I'm not about to leak my driver's license, but I was wearing a Celtics jersey in my driver's license picture. I wore a Celtics jersey every single time. I'm trying to find it too. I Every single time I took a picture for my school, I had a Celtics jersey on. I actually had this on my senior year picture, and actually my senior photo. Hold on, was a Celtics jersey. I want to pull up the graphics, but it would take too long. So just check it out. Like, that's my senior picture, Celtics jersey. And I was gonna pull up the graphics, but I'm just gonna show you again. Peek it, Celtics jersey. I
Oh,
tell
there
you
you
what,
go.
I bleed green. And this was my actual football coach. He made me this when the Celtics won the championship, a Tatum jersey cutout. So that was incredible too. So I bleed green if you can't tell. But David, what about you? Episode 50 first. Oh, Seamus, really
No,
quick.
go ahead. I'm gonna say, David, go ahead. I'm gonna go get something real quick, Griffin, and I'll be right back. And
That's
by the
fair.
time David is done, I'm sure I'll be right back and we're gonna show this thing off. But go ahead. Go ahead, David. Go ahead,
Sounds
David.
good. Sounds good. Episode 50, David. How does it feel? You've joined us, geez, a while ago now. And the first time you and I made a connection was actually when I went on Celtics Talk Weekly. You interviewed me, first of all, and then I joined the team and you joined the podcast. So that, and you know what it means for episode 50, and ultimately raising that trophy at the end, banner 18. How does that ultimately feel too, though? But take it away, David.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me on episode 50. We've reached the half century mark for episodes. It's crazy how haven't even been doing this for a year, like you said, and you're putting in the work. So a lot of credit for you for that. And yeah, it's coming up on like I think it's been over 4 months since we made that connection online, and I interviewed you just to talk about Maine Celtics stuff, and your videos kept on popping up on my TikTok feed. Um, Banner 18. It's crazy that it was 366 days ago. I can't. It doesn't feel like it was a year ago, but I've been doing a lot of reflecting this last month or so since the team got eliminated, where it's important not to take that banner for granted and how dominant of a team that was. Like, there's been two instances in my sports watching career where I was really able to tell right away if a team was, or probably three, if a Boston sports team was able to win the championship right away. The first one was the 2016 Patriots. I just figured we were going to win it right from the get go, out of pure revenge, given the whole Deflategate scandal with Tom Brady, him being suspended for the first 4 games. I knew he was going to come back and wreak havoc on the NFL. Number two, 2018 Red Sox. I just knew right away that that team is so dominant. 16, 17, we had gone over the hump in terms of winning the division, but we didn't make it out of that first round. I figured Cora was the perfect tweak, and then we got JD Martinez. So I just knew that that was going to be a special year, and we'd have a great chance to win the championship that year, and we did. And then this third iteration was the 23-24 Celtics. It was just so satisfying to see this team get over the hump after being so close year after year. Obviously disappointing end in 23, losing to an 8 seed Miami Heat in the conference finals after almost coming back from down 0-3. Even though I personally don't think the Heat were a true 8 seed. I mean, they dealt with a lot of injuries, which put them in the play in that season, but that was a tough pill to swallow. Obviously, 2022, losing to the Warriors in the finals after being up 2-1. I mean, we all thought that that was going to be our year after that crazy run we went on from January all the way to June of 22. And then, coming up short against the Miami Heat team, he could have beaten the bubble, taken LeBron to 7 games in 18 with a rookie Jason Tatum and a second year Jaylen Brown. It just felt like, this has to be happening soon. But we're also wondering, this team has come up short so many times. Is it going to happen? And I just had a feeling that whole season was going to happen. But, with how well we were doing, how well of a regular season we had, the pressure was at an all time high. And I had a feeling we were going to get it done, but you just don't know. And then you just watch the whole playoff run. We only lose 3 times. We have a 10-game winning streak in the playoffs last season, which is just unheard of. We went over a month without losing a playoff game. I mean, I just can't say enough about the team last year. And, you know, I watched game 3 of that series from the Garden. I was at that watch party at the Garden. That was a heck of a time with my friend. We were down 13 early. We went up 25 in the second half, and then it went down to 1 point, and then Jaylen Brown helped close it out late. I mean, what a game that was. I think we all knew it was over when we went up 3-0, and then watched the game in my living room with my dad Monday night, June 17th, 2024, game 5. Obviously, you guys touched on it, but the Pritchard shot, me and my dad almost woke up our whole neighborhood with our reaction to that. Um, Seeing just all the performances, it. I don't really even know still how to put it into words. It might be crazy for me to say this honestly, but it really hasn't still sunk into me that we won over a year later. Like it just still doesn't feel real. And like that was the championship I was most holding out for, or like most hoping for, because I'm a fan of all 4 Boston sports teams, but I saw the Bruins win pretty early on when I was younger, so I remember that experience in 2011. Obviously, the couple times we made it to the final since, there's been heartbreak, but at least I saw that and like witnessed that as a young fan. The Patriots, I've seen them win 3 Super Bowls as a fan, 14, 16, and 18. Red Sox, saw them win already twice. It's like the Celtics, which is the team I became such a big fan of because I've been covering them for 4 years now with Celtics Nation Rise and Celtics Talk Weekly. Just didn't have a chip yet. And it's like we all knew this was coming. It's just I needed to see it to believe it. And to finally see the team that I've been covering for this long, the team that's become my favorite team in Boston, win a championship after 16 years, like that's a long drought, 16 years. I don't care what anyone says.
Oh yeah.
To see us finally get over the hump, I mean, it's just such a great feeling. Just a lot of emotions there. And like, I was just so happy to see the guys get the job done. And that guarantees that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and potentially Al Horford, in my opinion, are going to be Hall of Famers. But just an amazing experience. I hope we can appreciate it, or sorry, I hope we can experience it again very soon. But I definitely appreciate that title run more given what happened this year and how choppy this year was. So we just have to appreciate that team for how consistent they were and how dominant they were because it's not supposed to be like that. So I mean, just what a ride it was last year, and I'll always remember that.
All
Yeah,
right,
I
Griffin. All right, hold up. All right. I've been standing. I've been listening to you the whole time, David. Here, I'm just standing here. I have no idea how to appear back on camera right now because we have a little show and tell moment. A little show and tell moment,
show and tell.
which I'm you
Great.
know I'm certain that people saw this. I'm certain that people saw this on the broadcast throughout most of the season. But this is the fake trophy that we made here last year. It was on the broadcast for half of this season. Oddly enough, the Celtics actually went on a winning streak when I took it off the broad. It felt like a little superstitious moment in there where it's like the trophy was in the background. We're 500 for a month. It's like let's take the trophy out, and all of a sudden it's like oh we beat the Bulls, and then we went on a crazy 7-1 streak before All Star break. But yeah, here's the trophy last year. This is made out of Pringles cans and a candle holder. I got the inspiration to this trophy to make it from the Heineken commercial. You know the Heineken commercial where they grab the vase from the hotel and then they're partying all around the city with it and then afterwards after they're done it's like they're on top of a double decker bus, they're in a parade, like they have this trophy, they're going all around, people are celebrating with them, and then after they're done they just put the flowers back in it and go back to their hotel room. It's like that's what this trophy is. Like you put a candle right here. It's like I got this. I mean, it's not quite the Larry O'Brien trophy, but it's pretty close. Got some gold plates on the bottom. You see, you got the
Some
gold
gold.
plates down here. It's a little messed up. I got to say, after a year, it's a little messed up. I'm
Why?
glad it's still
Why?
intact. But it's one of those like as a human, it's one of those items it's not the real thing, but just to put something gold in your hand when we win, it's like, oh, nice. This feels like it's like, oh, it feels like I'm holding the real trophy right now, and it kind of has the feel of it too. It's like, oh, it kind of feels like the trophy. But there you go, a little show and tell there for all the viewership last year. So that was the thing. The Celtics resparked my creativity. I made this trophy, this banner that you see back here. This all is handmade, everything. This writing up in here, all this, and the writing as well, just in general with the team when it comes to the uh, the coverage. It just what they did last season, seriously, just historical, and it's a moment we cherished. and witnessed. And it's one of those moments that you just when it happens, it's so special, and when it's you just know it's in the future that moment is going to end eventually, which it ended this season. It completely fell to the ground, especially it was like the pursuit of the playoffs this year was about pursuing that moment yet again from last year, and it just didn't feel like it was going to happen at a certain point, obviously in the playoffs, and because this past season, just the way it went. David, you mentioned it, just how rough it was at certain moments in time. It just didn't feel like the same vibe of a season. And it really just does put into perspective how special that 24 title was, because those moments don't happen every year. And you never know when you win a title like that, it's not guaranteed you win another one the next year or even in the next decade. I mean, look at the 2008 Celtics. They won that '08 title. I'm sure the narrative back then, we were a bit young to really understand what was going on in the media back then, but
I was two
I'm
years
sure the
old.
narrative was they were going to win way more than just one, right? Because they won in '08. That was their first year together. People are thinking, oh, there's more on the horizon. There weren't more on the horizon. And you see, there was a 16-year gap between the two titles. And then even you go back to '86. I mean, '86, I'm sure people thought the Celtics were in for more titles after '86 because they made the finals in '87. They were still competitive with Bird afterwards. And yet '86 goes all the way to 2008. It's like we could be I hate to say it, but the next time we talk about a Celtics title could be in the 2030s, could be in the 2040s. That's
Who knows?
completely possible.
It's
See, I put
possible.
that into perspective. It's not to be a pessimist, it's just to put into perspective of how special that moment really is. It's like I'm
It's
not and right now it's like, okay, Tatum, Achilles, Brown, meniscus, Kristaps and Giroux, they're probably going to be dealt away. It's not guaranteed the Celtics get back to that point anytime soon. So that's why in the moment of that last year, I felt like I feel like in a lot of historical moments, I consider myself a historian. I love history. I gotta say, in any regard, it doesn't have to be basketball. It could be world history. It could be anything out there. Just the historical measurement of anything. I love the history of what happened last year with the Celtics. It really it was a moment that, from my perspective, I just when it was happening, it was like, wow, this is like magic in a bottle right now. It's like this is like magic. Like that we're not we've never been here before. It's like as Celtics fans now, we loosely remember the '08 run because we were a little young during the '08 run,
I
but
know.
but
I was 2 years old. I tell you what, Seamus, I remember it from nowadays though. I do watch it back on the TV.
But that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like we never had a moment as Celtics fans. Like David, you kind of were mentioning it. How we now for me, I'm a St. Louis sports fan, so the Red Sox stuff and the Bruins stuff. Not I'm a Patriots fan. Don't get me wrong. I gave that whole spiel. I'm sure I've given that whole spiel before. The St. Louis Rams. They didn't do anything for us around here, but the amount of titles in which Boston sports teams won this century, there's one for the Celtics in '08, and from our generation's perspective, that hadn't really that happened when we were young. And all the Celtics teams we grew up with never got over the hump. They were pretty close a couple of times, but never quite got over the hump. Last year, the team was obviously able to get to that echelon, but it was we just never been in that moment where the Celtics have been the team before, the team that every other team in the league needs to beat in order to win the title. That's where the Celtics were last season, and that's where you could feel it this season, that kind of fading away, because throughout the season we did look at teams like the Thunder, we looked at the Cavs, we looked at those two teams specifically in front of the Celtics standing wise and went, oh yeah, we might have to beat those guys in the playoffs, or we might have to go through those guys in the playoffs. That wasn't like that last year. It was definitively, here are the Celtics. Here's who you're gonna have to face. We were thinking, okay, maybe the Nuggets out west, but the West was very much a question mark. It was the Nuggets, the Timberwolves, the Thunder at the top. The Clippers were even a viable contender last year, and then we obviously know we faced the Mavericks in the finals. So out west, there were about five teams who people were looking at saying, oh, could they make the finals? Could they make the finals? Out east, it was Celtics, Celtics, Celtics. And then once we actually got to the finals, I mean, we were the world beater team, especially against a lesser Mavericks team. But we never really had that moment as Celtics fans before of being the team. And last year was it. I should say 23, 24 was it. And I just that time period, that season, I that was such a special moment, and ever since the parade and the moment, just the whole season in general, after coming off that season, it's like the whole motivation coming into this season was let's do it again. Let's do it again because that was so awesome. But the reality is it just doesn't happen like that every single season. And when it does happen, it's like you really do catch magic in a bottle for that one particular point in time. And it's not a, you know, kudos to the Warriors and the Chicago Bulls and maybe you could say the Miami Heat and the Celtics and the Lakers of the 80s and the Celtics of the 60s. You know, those teams are that doesn't happen. It's like those little iterations of teams right there. I shouldn't even say little, but
Yeah.
those dynasties, it's like that doesn't happen very often. Most of the time it's a one-off type thing. And even in championship runs like the Spurs, I mean, they won 5 titles in 15 years.
And
So
can I
even for
say,
them, it's like it was very, they never won back to back.
no,
So even though they won 5, it didn't come consecutively like that. There were a lot of lulls and ebbs and flows in there. So it's always important to remember when it comes to chasing the title. And it just again, David, you mentioned it, just the putting into perspective of this season now and then last season. It's it really does make it's terrible to say, but when something is taken away, it becomes even more special to one, and that's kind of what that 24 title is. Like going into it, it's like we didn't know how good we had it, and even in the moment it's like this is great, but it's like eventually it's going to end, and it did. And that's where we're at now, talking about it a year later. Like I feel like we're like washed broadcast now, talking about it a year later. It's like last year's the gold standard now. It's like I remember last year we won the title and we're about to watch
yeah.
another team win the title this year in the Thunder. It's like, yeah, it's definitely one of those like, oh man, we're out of our
Well, we're
prime type of
still
feelings.
we're still the reigning champs. Like for a few more days, we're still the reigning
Literally
champs.
one day, like one day, like this
You
might
know,
be the last sunset, or no, I guess the sun goes down before tip off, maybe in the summer, maybe halftime. But this is the last full day, the last full 24 hours. The Celtics are defending champions, unless the Pacers come through in Game 6, give us a couple extra
yeah,
days.
give us a couple extra days. But no, I agree with what David said on that too. I feel like it still doesn't feel real from my perspective too. Like I feel like even when it happened, I'm like, wow, this doesn't even feel real. Like what's going on? Like I feel like it was like that with that championship, and it was that way with the Red Sox championship as well. But to start off my little spiel, episode 50 means so much to me. Just the hard work that all of you guys have put in, and I wanted to give a huge thank you to all of you guys who behind the scenes who work, to Andrew and everyone, all of you guys, Daniel, David, and Seamus, the work that you guys put into this podcast, hands down, is the best. And sorry, just a great crew of guys to work with. So I appreciate you guys from the
Griffin,
bottom.
you were getting emotional there. Let's be
I
honest.
I
You're getting
wasn't. I
you're
wasn't.
getting
I had a
emotional.
little, I all right, we'll say I was though. I'll give it to you. But no, great group of guys, and I just wanted to say what we have in store though is far from over. Just the work and content that we put into to get to episode 50, and it's just gonna keep multiplying. Like, I mean, not even a full year in, and you 50 podcasts. Like we're just going to keep going for you guys. So make sure to tune in and keep tuning in, because the content's just going to get better and better and better. To look where we were from episode 1, being on a Zoom call, not having any graphics, to now Seamus putting up the big episode 50 up there with the Celtics jerseys. Like, that's pretty special. So big shout out to you, Seamus. Big shout out to everyone here at Celtics Nation Rise. And it's been a fun ride, and we're just going to continue to do bigger and better things. So just keep watching for the horizon, because the climax is far from, the climax is like the peak, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And
Yeah.
and I'll say this too: the journey is always important. Just talking about the Celtics title, just another point on that. It felt like when the Celtics won the title, it was almost like a little microcosm of all of the little moments that had transpired to lead up to that moment. Think
Mhm.
about it, like we won the title, but it's like that everything that caused that moment, it's like we had already been through. It's like we had been through the journey, and that moment just led to the confetti. It led to everybody celebrating on court. But if you really look at it, it's like what was really the meat of the entirety of the story behind it? It's like the journey. The journey is always important. So when you talk about that climax, right? It's like, oh, the peak of production. It's like the journey's important, and this is part of it right here.
Exactly. It is. It is. And I have to
And this
say,
talk reminds me.
what was
I
that?
said this talk reminds me a lot of the all this talk about like the junior and whatnot reminds me of like losing that 22 finals to the Warriors. I think that also like played a massive impact on us winning 2 years later as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that adds on to the story. And see, I look at it from this perspective. I was watching it like as a fan. Like when we do this fan series, I was, and I'm still just like the people that we have on this podcast. However, now having this platform to come on and just share my emotions and break down this team for you guys is just so special. So that's why I'm excited to see the vibes when we raise Banner 19. I'm excited to come on to this podcast, which I'm very hopeful in the distant future it will happen. Not distant, early future, early future that we will come on here and be celebrating with you guys about Banner 19. But for me, it was super special. My boss, I work for a baseball bat company, still do part-time like when I can, but he has a lake house, and we went to his lake house. We had game day parties. We would make a bunch of food, and we eat a bunch of food, and just we make nachos. I think he made bacon wrapped scallops that last one. I
Make
made.
like table nachos, Griffin, like on the
We
table.
did one of the last ones. Yeah, the table nachos. I made my famous jalapeno poppers, some wings. Oh, we
Famous jalapeno poppers.
yo, I
You're
make.
gonna turn this into a food podcast real quick
We
here. I'm
should.
gonna tell you. If
You
you're
know what? When we win the championship next
I'm
time,
a little hungry right now, and it's like
listen. When we're back to the finals, I'm gonna make the jalapeno poppers, and we'll review them on here. And I'll like we'll have to all meet up and review the poppers in person and do like a watch party. That's what we'll have to do. We'll have to.
no,
But
I no, you guys. I love the Celtics. Don't get me wrong, but at the heart of all of our production, it's like I am a media junkie. Like I can 100 like we can do CTW food. I would be all for it.
the
We
Celtics
do the
nation tonight,
jalapeno poppers. We go. The thing I love is reviewing different NBA cities for food. That was one of my Bill Simmons did that I think with was it I don't remember who he did it with a long time. It might have been Joe House. Might have been Joe House a long time ago. He did the top 16 and he did all the playoff cities, right? That year it was like 2018. And it was the top 16 NBA food cities of all the teams in the playoffs. Of course, you had Cleveland at like number 16, and it was Houston number 1, like New Orleans number 2, and
oh,
we
of
should do it.
course.
It's like we should that's what I'm saying, like
Yeah,
CTW as a media entity. It's like maybe
we
we
got
move
it.
to
Yeah,
Boston food.
yeah. We like we were talking about with O'Shea Brissett. When the money's flowing in, we're going to Zoomies or whatever it's called, Zumu or whatever.
Oh,
And
he gave you a bunch of, well, give that
yeah,
backstory. He gave you a bunch of restaurants and they were a little
yeah,
ritzy.
yeah. So when the money's flowing in, we're gonna review O'Shea Brissett's top food choices. So that's gonna be a clip that will come out someday. But yeah, we'll have to review the jalapeno poppers when we're back to where back to the brace of Banner 19. So we're gonna have the jalapeno poppers review, the bacon wrapped jalapeno poppers. Ooh, I
There's
haven't
ever
been.
more motivation for the Celtics to win the title now.
It
It's like
is
we
now.
get
It's
jalapeno
like
poppers on top of it.
yeah, we get
Crazy.
jalapeno poppers. Come on, bring me those jalapeno poppers. No, but great. I got to cherish the moments, obviously, with two guys that's been on the program too. My brother Skylar and Bobby. We were all there, and after they won the championship, we jumped into his lake. So that was a lot of fun. We had a blast that night. Definitely, I was up till like 3 a.m. and we slept in his. Obviously, he had like an RV and he had Bluetooth in there, and I was playing Shipping Up to Boston till 3 in the morning. And Skylar looks at me and he's like, Griffin, it's 3 in the morning. And I said, I know. I'm gonna go till 4. I'm gonna go till 4. Like, let's go till 5. Like that just shows my love and dedication. But I will say, I think we'll talk about this when it comes parade day, I think, because we'll have more to talk about, but the parade was probably the most special for me. That's where, you saw the confetti up in the air and you're like, I just lost it. But speaking of that too, I have to say, I did get, you have the Larry O'Brien. I got to meet the Larry O'Brien. And talking about this, I'm going to pull this back up really quick before I explain this picture. Go to Celtics Day at the Sea Dogs because I think you could get a chance to meet the Larry O'Brien trophy August 12th. So hit it up. David.
Hey, that's my birthday.
Oh,
Nice.
Seamus,
All
are you
right.
pulling up to the Sea Dogs?
I
David,
guess
Early birthday.
I have to. I mean,
giving it to me.
18 banners, 18 hours driving up to the Boston, Maine area. No, to your area, Griffin, it'd be like 19, 20 hours. You're
Hey,
a little
I,
up the coast
I
there a
think
little bit.
I'll be working, but I think you guys should pull up to the Sea Dogs. Everyone at home, August 12th, pull up. It's gonna be Celtics night. So come see me at work and come check out the Celtics. I think the Celtics dance team is gonna be performing. So gonna be a fun night in Portland. But
Even more
speaking of that,
incentive. Even
it
more
was
incentive.
it was. So Maine Celtics, they had Celtics night, obviously, bringing in the trophy as you see the Larry there. But you also see right there a tattoo. Another funny story is I got that Celtics tattoo after we won the championship. I never thought I was going to get a tattoo, but I did. So I told my friends, and it wasn't like Jack and other guys we've had on the podcast that are like, oh, let's get the tattoo before we win. I was like, wait, hold up. I'm going to wait till we win and then I'm going to get it because I'm not, I just had to wait. But, so speaking of that, though, I was at the Maine Celtics there. Some breaking news. The Maine Celtics have a new head coach. Seamus, if you wanted to break this down for us and read this tweet for us, Phil Presley is the Maine Celtics new head coach. But Seamus, take it away.
Well, this is my guy, Phil Presley, right here, former Mizzou alum. Boston Celtics player enhancement coach Phil Presley will be named head coach of the Maine Celtics, Boston's G League affiliate. League sources told Hoops Hype Presley spent 2 seasons with the Celtics as a player, appearing in 125 games during his first 2 seasons in the NBA. And of course, Phil Presley, as I mentioned in here, former Tiger alum. Former Mizzou alum, former Missouri University alumni, was a part of a couple of great Missouri teams back in the early 2010s. One that unfortunately, and we won't talk about the Norfolk State game, but Phil Presley with Mizzou, always some great memories there. And then with the Boston Celtics, Phil Presley, it was mentioned in that tweet, played 125 games with the Celtics during his time in Boston. And Phil Presley, he stayed around the organization of the Celtics, now up in Maine as the Maine Celtics head coach. So shout out Phil Presley, always a favorite of mine, leading up to 10 plus years ago back at Mizzou. The Mizzou Tigers are about a 2.5 hour drive away from here, from St. Louis. But Phil Presley back with the Celtics. Well, he was always with the Celtics organization, but now with the Maine Celtics as a head coach. And as we know, that can lead to other opportunities in the future as a head coach. So Phil Presley, nice, I would say a nice hiring by the Maine Celtics here.
Yeah, and you gotta see him with Brad right here too. Gotta love it. So they have that connection, obviously, from the early coaching days. But David, sorry, I had a brain fart right there. David, if you wanted to talk about, you obviously mentioned about the early coaching days with him. If you wanted to cover that really quick, obviously with Phil Presley.
Yeah, so Phil Presley is one of the members of the OG Brad Stevens season with the Celtics in 2013, 2014. I just looked it up. He played, 50 games one season and then 14, 15. Or sorry, his first season he played 75 games with the Celtics, and in 14, 15 he played 50 games. So that's the 125 across 2 seasons that was mentioned in that tweet. I always like Presley. I've always found it easy to root for, like the small, like undersized underdog point guards on a team. Like Phil Presley comes to mind. A guy a few years later, and Shane Larkin comes to mind. Like I just love rooting for those guys when they were on the Celtics. I mean, are they viable options on a team to win a championship? No. And I don't think we ever envisioned a long-term plan for Phil Presley with the Celtics as a player. All due respect to him. But it was fun to root for him. It's a scrappy player, remember him hitting some shots from time to time, being a decent playmaker. So I love rooting for the guy. Um, I hadn't honestly thought about him for years since he left in 2015 until he got hired as an assistant coach by Joe Mazzulla before the championship season. And right when I saw that, I remember just loving the guy as a player. Um, haven't heard obviously too much of him as an assistant coach, but obviously if he's getting this new role as the Maine Celtics head coach, then that's going to be that obviously is a letter of recommendation of sorts for how well he did as a assistant coach with Boston. And obviously, Seamus mentioned that if you're a head coach of the Maine Celtics, that presents good opportunities for you as an NBA coach potentially in the future, as we saw that with Joe Mazzulla almost 10 years ago in 2016 when he was the head coach of the Maine Celtics. So,
Red Claws at that
yeah,
time. So
right. Thank you. The Red Claws at that time. Yeah, I interested to see. I'd love to go to more Maine Celtics games this year and see how Phil Pressey is as a coach because I literally don't know his coaching style at all. Like, is he a lot like Joe Mazzulla where he's relationship centric? I mean, obviously it's a plus for a guy like Phil Pressey coming in, being a younger guy. It seems like that's the trend that all professional sports are going with, where they're asking for younger head coaches to be able to relate to the younger players. So that could obviously be a positive quality of his, but yeah, I'm happy for him. I'm happy he stayed around the Celtics organization. And again, I wish I could say more about his coaching style, but I guess I'll just have to figure it out myself and hopefully get to some Maine Celtics games and see how he does.
no, you have to, David. You have to join Daniel, Andrew, and I, covering the Maine Celtics because that's what we're going to be doing. Just a little FYI too, when Maine Celtics season rolls back around, we're going to be giving you guys some Maine Celtics coverage too. We're going to be in depth in the Boston Celtics coverage, but we're also going to give you some Maine Celtics coverage as well. And Daniel, you're going to be joining us along with that journey. Are you excited for the Maine Celtics run for the upcoming Maine Celtics season? Gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. I didn't know much about the Maine Celtics because I haven't been an NBA fan until like I would say 5 years ago. No, three, about 3 4 years ago. And so in terms of like the system and how there's like the main team and then the G League, I wasn't too knowledgeable about that until recently. But I think that Maine Celtics team is very fun to watch. Seeing prospects like Kada, like go back and forth, JD Davidson, like a bunch of other guys. Kada being one of my favorite guys from that two-way team. But yeah, I think the Maine Celtics are going to be a fun team next year, especially with Presley. And I'm excited to see what this guy's going to be cooking up.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah, I look at it and I'm excited, like you said, David, to see his coaching style. That's one thing I'm excited to see, and I'm excited to actually hopefully talk with him and get an interview and just really hear from him and how it feels to be the new Maine Celtics head coach. But Seamus,
That's the interview that's on the horizon. Is the Phil Presley interview? Gotta get
is.
it. I'll say Phil Presley. Let's bring this photo back up. Phil Presley. I have some deep roots with Phil Presley. This is a point guard who I grew up with. He played at Mizzou. I mentioned already on some pretty good Mizzou teams during his time there. He played 3 seasons at Mizzou, and it was a known name in the Midwest, right? A known name in the St. Louis area before eventually moving up to Boston with the Celtics as he played with the Celtics, and we already mentioned that. But Phil Presley, this is one of those perfect storms, in my opinion, from my perspective, right? The St. Louis perspective. Jason Tatum is one of those perfect storms where, from the Columbia, Missouri, not quite St. Louis area, but if you look at the whole scope of the world and the country, it's same region, right? But Phil Presley plays with the Mizzou Tigers, and he's there on good teams, and he's somebody that people know about in the area. And then all of a sudden, oh, he's on my favorite basketball team up in Boston. That kind of felt like the whole Jason Tatum thing too, where Jason Tatum, he's from St. Louis, from the area, people know about him, saw him in high school, saw him play at Chaminade, and then he's with the Boston Celtics. That's the same story with Phil Presley, just from my own personal perspective of wow, I have with these St. Louis guys, they're up in Boston doing work with the Celtics. Presley again, not quite a St. Louis guy, but a Missouri guy at that. However, I do have a lot of faith in Phil Presley potentially advancing on from the Maine Celtics head coaching job, because you look at other head coaches in the NBA who have, whether former head coaches or current head coaches or even assistant coaches in the NBA who have been head coaches for the G League. We have quite a robust list. I mean, Dave Yeager, coached with the Kings and the Grizzlies. He was a head coach way back when with the Sioux Falls Sky Force and the Dakota Wizards. The Dakota Wizards. So I mean, he was in NBA G League purgatory. He was up there in the Dakotas, the South Dakota, and I don't know whether the Dakota Wizards, they were in North Dakota or South. I'm guessing in in South Dakota, but Dave Yeager is one of those names. One of the biggest names, hometown guy in Massachusetts from Leominster, right? Let me get that word right. Leominster, from the hometown of Mr. Justin Lowe. Mark Dagnall. He coached with Oklahoma City's G League squad. Was the head coach of the Oklahoma City Blue, which I believe when we pulled up a headline of it when we were doing the finals preview. I believe the team was called the Oklahoma City 66ers at the time.
Wow.
So Mark Dagnall, all the way back in 2014, he joined the Oklahoma City organization as their G League head coach. Now he's leading a 68-win ball club to potentially the Larry O'Brien Trophy in the NBA Finals championship. Like, the way they're doing the Thunder and Mark Dagnall, they're doing the same thing as what the Celtics did last year. We're talking about these special moments, 1 year removed now from the 24 title. Mark Dagnall, he came from that system of G League head coaches. Now potentially about to win the title in a day from now with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
It
Another
shows
coach,
you
the,
what
the
really
two
does.
Western Conference Finals coaches this year, Chris Finch and Mark Dagnall. Chris Finch used to be a G League head coach with the Rio Grande Valley Vipers, the Houston Rockets G League affiliate. Nick Nurse with the Philadelphia 76ers. He was a coach with the Iowa Energy, now the Iowa Wolves. Some of these teams in the G League used to be the D League, changed names over time. Well, we know how that is
Well,
here. The
actually,
Red Claws into the
Seamus,
Celtics.
we'll talk with Coach AJ about that, because I actually in sports management class I actually learned about that, turning to the G League for the sponsorship. But we could talk about that draft
No, what
on the
confuses me,
24th.
just to go off on a little tangent about the G League, what confuses me that the G League is supposed to be for the Gatorade sponsorship. People don't necessarily connect G with Gatorade. If it's just G, if they see the G, right? That's where the sponsorship comes into play. Is if you go to an arena, you see the jersey, you see the G. Like you know about it, Griffin. You've seen the G on the jerseys before. That's where sponsorship comes into play. But when you're just saying it out loud, it's like I feel like it would almost be better as the Gatorade League. I don't know. The G
Yeah.
League, it is what it is.
We'll
But
talk about it with Coach AJ next week.
but
Tune in the 24th. Draft.
exactly, and that'll be a draft preview. But Nick Nurse, we talked about. He was a champion in his first year as a head coach with the Toronto Raptors, and then now with the Philadelphia 76ers. He was with the Iowa Energy over 10 years ago. Now the Iowa Wolves head coach in Iowa, and you notice these places too. The Dakotas, Iowa. Kind of out. The G League. It's like you're sent out to the middle of nowhere in some of these instances, away from the big cities. But another one of note here is Darvin Ham. Darvin Ham, an assistant coach, was a head coach with the Lakers there for a while, assistant coach with the Bucks. He was a head coach of the New Mexico Thunderbirds from 2010 to 2011 as a G League head coach, or as a D League head coach at the time. Mike Brown, just recently fired by the Sacramento Kings, a head coach of the Fayetteville Patriots from 2007 to 2008, and then became a head coach with the Cavaliers eventually, and then he was with the Kings, the Warriors, a bunch of teams. But some great names on that list if you look at it. And another head coach, Nate Bjorken. Funny about him, he was the Pacers head coach before Rick Carlisle came in. It's like if you want to give some credit to somebody for the Pacers title, it's Bjorken. If Bjorken was still there, I don't know if they would be in this during this. I don't know if they would be making this run right now. It definitely a link there to Carlisle, but if you look at all these head coaches for the G League, or formerly the D League, the developmental league for the NBA. You know, there's a lot of opportunity for G League head coaches to move to a next level and not only be an NBA head coach, but an NBA assistant or even a college assistant. We forget how much money is out there in college. There are a lot of jobs out there for college head coaches and college assistant roles that pay more than an NBA or an NBA G League head coach salary. So Phil Presley, certainly a great opportunity for him. And it's just, for me, it's one of those perfect storm moments where a guy from the Missouri, St. Louis area, he goes up to Boston and now all of a sudden he's entrenched in Celtics culture as the Maine Celtics head coach. And Griffin, I'm completely excited for you and the Celtics Nation Rise brand here to potentially get an interview with him this season. I'm sure you're going to be able to run into him a couple times as next season gets underway, and I'm sure you're gonna mine a couple of thoughts from him. So it's great to see Phil Presley still within the Celtics organization. 10 years ago, just kind of, it's one of those players you feel like, probably not going to be. David, you talked about it, probably not going to be here too long, and we're thinking, yeah, we're not building long term with Phil Presley, although you never know with small guards in Boston. You know, Isaiah Thomas, he showed us, you never can count him out. But not somebody we were looking to necessarily build with, but yet he's still here 10 years later in a different role within the organization. That's always great to see. And that always shows somebody's work ethic and character too, to be within an organization for that long of a period of time. I'm sure he was somewhere else. He probably wasn't with the Celtics the entirety of the time. I've not exactly studied on that one. We know he was the player enhancement coach, but there might have been a period of time where he went overseas, played basketball in there. But the fact that he's still around the Celtics organization certainly tells us something about his dedication to his craft and where he wants to be within his coaching career and basketball career. And I'm very excited to see where it goes for him, because this could be one of those things. He's at Mizzou, he's with the Celtics, and he starts with the Maine Celtics, and you never know. He could be like Mark Dagnall one day. He's leading a 68 win team, a 70 win team to an NBA title, and we go look back to our film here talking about Phil Presley. And the Maine Celtics hiring him as head coach. It's just one of those moments where you think, where could this go in the future, as we're seeing with Mark Dagnall right now. So imagine if we had a Mark Dagnall clip back in 2014 when he was hired to the Oklahoma City 70. Nope. Griffin, I get this wrong every time. The Oklahoma City 66ers. When you have City 66ers and no front tooth, it's tough, folks. It's tough. They really throw you a curveball there.
It will definitely be one to know to being episode 50. But that's going to bring us into our last topic. Obviously, we are a Celtics podcast, so we're going to be brief on this because we're not going for much longer. But there's some breaking news. We're just going to cover on it really quick. Rafael Devers was traded to the San Francisco Giants. I'm just going to say this. I'm not going to say much, but 2 heartbreaks in Boston happened. Well, a couple. Jason Tatum obviously goes down with the Achilles injury. Boom. Have that up. Obviously, we pull this up every once in a while. So
I think you've pulled it up every single podcast since it's happened. I think that's the stat here.
Almost, yeah. So let's see how long I go without posting it from this podcast on. But then you had last night, obviously, your guy from the Boston Bruins. I don't cover the Bruins much. I don't watch the Bruins much, but raising the Stanley Cup, Brad, right there. And then obviously the thing that affects me most from a Red Sox fan perspective is Devers was the last remaining piece of the 2018 World Series Boston Red Sox, as David mentioned that earlier in the program. And now there are no remaining pieces except for ownership, obviously, and Alex Cora being the head coach. Other than that, there are no remaining players from the 2018 Boston Red Sox. And I saw a tweet the other day or something like that, that the most recent player is now from 2020, I believe, is the last. And we're in 2025. So only 5 years. The last player, and it was Tanner Houck, 5 years. That's the longest remaining Red Sox piece. So in an MLB team has 26 to 27 players, right? We're talking about that. So 26 players, and the longest one was 5 years. So just that's where I'm like, oh, it's sad. It's sad. We haven't seen the same players. But Seamus, you look like you want to say something.
No,
first.
isn't it crazy that pre-COVID is now ancient? It's
I
like anything that
know.
happened in 2019. It's like, everybody on the Red Sox totally different from 2019.
2019, not a remaining face from the
It
2019.
just doesn't seem that long ago, but it was,
It
6 years
was.
ago.
It was.
6 years.
But obviously, Daniel, you could cover on this too. You asked me the question again from earlier. What does this in NBA terms? You have to ask it again. I just need to hear it, and I will say what it is. You have to ask the question again, Daniel. I need you. You're on mute, by the way. I need you to what does this equivalent to? You have to.
It's the equivalent of the Luka trade in the NBA. That's the NBA terms of it.
That's the reigning thought. David, would you agree or disagree? Because you go to plenty of Red Sox games this year too. Would you say yes or no? Does this equivalent to the Luka trade? That's our final thought, and then we'll get ready to close this up.
From the shock value, yes, because the Luka trade obviously came out of nowhere. I think that happened at like close to 1 a.m. Eastern time. I woke up the next morning going to work, and then all my friends were texting me, "Oh, Nico Harrison should be fired for what he did." I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, who is Nico Harrison? Not to sound like a casual, but I'm like, what? Like, I don't even know any of these names. Scroll through Instagram right before I headed in my car to work at like 4 a.m, and I'm like, what just happened? So the shock value, absolutely. Just gotten home from work, was just unwinding down on Father's Day this past Sunday, scrolling through Twitter, and just so happened to see a tweet from a guy named Robert Murray. The Red Sox are trading Devers to the Giants 2 minutes ago. Now, obviously, when you see anything on social media, you have to take it with a grain of salt. And I literally thought that what we all thought with Shams and the Luka trade was happening with me and Robert Murray, where this guy got hacked. I saw it get quote tweeted. You've got to be kidding me. I put this and I copy pasted the group chat or the tweet into a group chat with a couple of my friends from high school, and I asked them, "Is this real?" And one of my friends, who's a bigger Red Sox fan than me, texted, "The two biggest Red Sox fans, and Jared Carrabis and Tyler Milken, are tweeting about it." I'm like, well, if they're tweeting about it, that has to mean that it's real. And then, yeah, I just started. I was just shocked. I was just staring at my phone for about 5 minutes, and then I told my dad that the trade happened, and my dad didn't believe it. He kept on saying that it's fake. Then obviously all the information started coming out about what the Red Sox return was going to be. Obviously, it ended up with us getting 4 prospects, or 3 prospects and a pitcher. All 3 of the 4 being under the age of 23, and then that pitcher Hicks being right around 28. But in terms of the shock value, yes, it's the same as a Luka trade for me, in my opinion, because we didn't see it coming in, at all. I mean, we didn't see it coming in the near future. I think we saw a Devers trade potentially happening in the offseason, but was I expecting it to come out of nowhere just like that on Father's Day, 3 days ago now? No.
No.
But it's different in the sense that Luka was not being insubordinate at all, where Luka was fully committed to spending the rest of his career in Dallas, and like he was happy to do whatever it took to win. The team was 8 months removed at the time from reaching the NBA Finals, and he had every intention to do whatever it took to win a championship for the city of Dallas, the team that drafted him. Devers, again, there's a lot of reports coming out. Both the Red Sox and Devers PR team are working overtime right now to, cleanse each other's images with all these reports coming out. Oh, Devers was willing to play first, but the Red Sox weren't willing to commit to him playing first base long term. Or, oh, Devers got mad, according to the Red Sox, when Christian Campbell volunteered to play first after Devers said no to playing first. Like, no one really knows what happened. All I can say is that both sides did a terrible job at communication, it seems like. But the fact of the matter is, the writing was on the wall starting in February for Devers to potentially not be with the Red Sox for that much longer. Am I shocked that it happened this past Sunday? yes, I thought it could have happened potentially maybe at the deadline we're talking about, or definitely in the winter. It's very bad timing, in my opinion, to trade your franchise player when we were coming off a 5 game winning streak and right back in the playoff mix. But the situations are different in that sense with the players. So it's the same for me from the shock value, but Luca and Devers were in two different situations where there was no tension really between Luca and the front office. It was more so the front office versus Luca, where in this it was Devers versus the front office and vice versa, where both sides were starting to get tired of each other. So I think
Yeah.
there's some similarities and differences in that regard.
Definitely.
I think the comparison with the Luca trade is absolutely ridiculous because that's an easy one to fall back on, but we forget the Luca trade was seriously a trade that had not happened in NBA history. I mean, that was for in terms of shock value, that was the gold standard. That was the platinum standard. The Luca trade trumped every other trade in NBA history, if not sports history, because of how massive it was in such a weird moment right before the trade deadline. Those are usually moves that happen during the summer. And David, like you mentioned, usually there's a period of time where a player becomes disgruntled with their franchise. And you got to think too, with the Luca trade, I understand with this Devers trade, people are looking at it going, oh, they got nothing in return. Well, baseball is a little bit different than basketball. With the Luca trade, they really got. I don't want to say they got nothing in return because they did get a 27 first, Max Christie, and Anthony Davis for him. But at the same time, for Luca, you could have extracted 7 first round picks. I mean, Desmond Bain. Just look at what Desmond Bain went for. He just went for 5 first round picks, essentially 4 picks and a pick swap from Orlando. And yes, there was conversation about, oh, you needed to pay to get off of KCP's contract, whatever. There were 5 picks in the deal. With Luca, there was one. There was one in Anthony Davis and Max Christie. And that deal could have extracted many more picks if you're the Dallas Mavericks and could have actually gauged the market, right? Gauged the market. With this Devers trade, you have to think, number one, he's already under contract. Luca wasn't under contract. So Luca, he's not making the supermax going ahead into the future. In the Lakers, they actually are going to get a little bit of a deal on him now that they've traded for him because he can't make that supermax money. He's going to come in at a lower number now. And they can work around that within their salary books moving into the future. The Devers trade, one has to consider whoever's taking on Rafael Devers, they're taking on his massive contract as well. So over time, you're first of all, you're just gonna, in terms of the market of teams wanting to actually pursue Devers, it's gonna be much smaller than the teams wanting to pursue Luka Doncic because Luka Doncic wasn't signed long term at that point, and he was a player in which you could get him for a lower number if you were to trade for him. And the Mavericks just didn't shop him. Right here, I'm going to go ahead and say the Red Sox, number one, shopped Rafael Devers, and number two, I don't think the market was completely robust for Devers because, number one, he's not, in my mind, he's not the best player in baseball. Like Luca, you can make a conversation. He's maybe top five, and on some occasions, he is the best player in basketball. Rafael Devers, there are better players out there. You know, I'm not denying the superstardom of Rafael Devers, but I don't feel like he's in that. Like I feel like Luca might be a tier above him in terms of NBA standards versus him in baseball standards. I might be wrong. That's where my general feel is on them, but it's also the contract. You know, if you're looking at a bunch of teams, like I'm looking at the Cardinals, right, or the Reds, or any of the NL Central teams right now outside of maybe the Cubs, you know, my own division. None of the teams in the NL Central were vying to pay Rafael Devers the money in which he's owed into the future. And that's a big part of this whole trade is the Red Sox, they're getting off of Rafael Devers' money in the future to potentially replace him with players already on the roster who they're going to pay in the future who they would otherwise need to they would need to those players would need to walk in order to actually receive their rightful payday. Now the Red Sox are going to have a chance to pay some of those younger players in the future, but also if you want to go out and actually get yourself a player on the free agency market, if you're the Red Sox, you can go and do that now, and it can be a maybe. And when I say more efficient player, a player with a better attitude, a player who actually plays in the field, a player who can move around the field, a player who's maybe a similar bat from Devers, but maybe not as good of a bat as Devers, but plays the field better. A player like that, the Red Sox can certainly attain in the future with the future money in which they're saving from the contract. And David, you mentioned it. There was a huge internal battle behind the scenes. A huge, like the Luca trade. There was no internal battle. It was the Dallas Mavericks were, we don't know about Luca. Here it was, oh, the Red Sox, they want Rafael Devers to play third. They want him to play first. And Rafael Devers, I mean, to me, he was just being a lazy punk and he didn't want to play in the field. And he just represented that, just one of the worst mentalities I see in sports. And I think it comes out primarily in baseball is, oh, well, I'm overworked. I can't do this. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I can't. Give me a break. We were talking on here last night. I was talking to Rob and Franco, and we were talking about how, you know, look at Brooke Lopez and look at Al Horford. For the first 10 years of their career, neither of them were 3-point shooters. Neither of them. Brooke Lopez, Al Horford, both low post guys. What's defined them the second halves rather of their careers? It's that 3-point shot. It's the fact they've been able to mold their games as stretch five big men. I absolutely hate it when I see a player who only bats in baseball say, no, I just can't play the field. I don't want to play the field.
I'm gonna say
That right there, I'm
but-
sorry, Griffin, that mentality right there. How can Devers have that mentality? How can Rafael Devers own that mentality of I'm not going to play third base.
But-
I'm not going to play
no,
first base.
but
And think
but
that
there's
his
more to
spot
it.
in Boston is safe. That's
No,
not the type of city Boston is. That's not the type of demand in which Boston sports fans and the organizations demand from their players. That is nowhere near the standard of Boston sports. If you don't want to play in the field, if you don't want to do everything it takes for your team to win, that's the huge glaring thing that's the huge glaring thing here for me is Rafael Devers was asked to do something, to sacrifice something in order to give his team a better chance to win, in order to give the Red Sox a better chance to win. And he went, oh, that wasn't part of the deal. No, I don't want to do that.
But-
And that to me is just it's an absolutely rancid mentality. I don't want that player on my club. I don't care how talented that player is. That is a mentality that will 1000% trickle down to a clubhouse, be contagious within a locker room, and completely plague the entire team. Because if you don't have one of your best players all in on winning, specifically winning, doing everything it takes to win, in whatever sport, if you don't have your best player all in on that, the rest of the team isn't going to be all in on that. And they're going to point that out, and it's just not going to work well. So for this trade, for me, it wasn't anything like the Luka trade, and even the return for the Red Sox. It's 4 cost-controlled players, 3 of which are really young, giving you potentially more WAR and more production in the next 5-10 years than Rafael Devers would have on his contract. And I also mentioned too, there's potential for the Red Sox to sign another player in the future who could potentially make up some of that production as well. So therefore, not a gaudy return, not an optically pleasing move for the Red Sox. However, one that could mathematically make sense for the entire team moving ahead and adding more production to the Red Sox over X amount of years. But also, I think just getting rid of a terrible personality in the locker room. Championship or not, good memories or not, all of that considered, not wanting to play first base after your team loses their starting first baseman for the season is outrageously selfish. Outrageously selfish, Griffin.
Okay,
It's
but
outrageously soft. It's a punk move, and I'm not so I'm if I'm one here, I'm not surprised that the trade went down. I'm really not. I'm surprised at the timing of it.
Yeah,
For sure. Like David said, I'm surprised at that, but I'm really not surprised. Like the minute he was not bought in on playing third, and then they tried to move him over to first because of Casas's injury. The moment he wasn't in on playing in the field, I'm sorry, with a $300+ million contract,
You have
that
to be
is
flexible.
like
But-
you're how selfish can you be? How soft can you be? How you're playing? Not only this, you're not playing in Cincinnati. All right, you're not playing in Dallas, or you're not playing in Houston. It's like you're playing in Boston. All right, you're not playing in Seattle. It's like, oh, Seattle, it's all chill. It's like, no, you're playing in Boston. If you're not doing everything, you can to help your team win, it's like that's just not the standard in Boston. I'm sorry. We've seen it with the Celtics, the Red Sox, the Patriots, and the Bruins. If your standard isn't doing everything possible to win for your team, you just don't fit. You just don't fit. And that was Devers. I don't care about the ring. I don't care. Obviously, you see the Cardinals hat here, but
I have a counter. I do have something counter to that though. I think the only perspective I see is he was upset because there was obviously not communication in the offseason about Bregman. And I watched Section 10 podcast, and this is where I'm obtaining that information from. They told Devers that he was going to play second. Bregman was going to play second base, and Devers was going to still be the third baseman. However, then they were like, all right, we're taking your glove from you for the season. We want you to just be the DH and just focus on the DH and just do that. Now, I understand you have to be flexible.
Griffin, but see, that's to me, it's like, who cares if they want to? It's like, it's your team asking you to do whatever it takes to win. It's like, we need you to do this for our club to maximize its efficiency. And the bottom line, it's like, whatever the communication was, like, oh, am I playing third? Am I playing second? Am I playing first? Am I just DHing? It's like, it shouldn't matter. Whatever the team asks you to do, you should be able to do. And I understand that's the thing about baseball. It's like all these baseball players, like, I'm sorry, it's one of the softest sports out there. It's like, oh, I'm not, oh, I've been taking a bunch of balls at non-rhythm. It's like, brother, most of your is standing there and reacting to a ball hit to you. It's like, does it really matter what angle in the field you're in? It's like, just do that task. Do that task. When I see something, if they don't want to endeavor, it's like, I'm sorry, that $100 million it's like, okay.
Seamus, he's glitching a little.
Am I still glitching over here? Am I still glitching?
You're a little back. You're back a little.
You're better now.
I'm better now. But
Seamus, I do have to say though, I have to say this. I feel like you could see both sides of the story for sure. I think it's undeniable that the Boston Celtics were going to trade Rafael Devers, but back to David's point, I feel like it's shocking when they did it right after a sweep to the Yankees, and you didn't hear, all right, let's listen to offers. I hear there was 2 teams they talked to, but it's shocking that they didn't put him on the trade block and say, hey, we're trading Devers. What can we get for him? That's the only interesting thing.
I bet they did behind the scenes, because we don't always have to hear about those things publicly for somebody to actually be shopped everywhere. My argument is they probably did. And I don't think there were a ton of takes, because number 1 is attitude, number 2 is contract. And his versatility. I want players who are versatile. I want players who, it's like, okay, we're going to have you play second base. We're going to have you play third base. That player goes, all right, grabs his glove and goes out there and competes. I don't want a player who's going to say, oh, but you guys said I was going to play second. You guys said I was going to DH. You guys said it's like, compete.
But from a baseball,
it's ridiculous.
I agree. But from a baseball perspective too, it takes so much time and effort to just put your craft to a DH, and that's what the San Francisco Giants.
Does it really, Griffin? Just think, you're back. You're like players. They're in the outfield, they're in the infield, and then they go and back. You're telling me a DH needs some kind of? He's like, he needs to take that extra time off in the dugout in between innings, to really lock in on his bat.
Steve? What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on this? You're like the man who said, I'm in the middle.
I feel very old school with this. I don't know. Maybe I feel very anti-baseball mentality with this.
You're saying exactly what David Ortiz said. David Ortiz thinks it's crazy that he won't do what makes his team win. However, I see both sides. I agree 100% with ownership. All right, it was a move that you had to make, and it's undeniable that you had to make it. However, I feel like there were some conversations that were not held to Devers that, like, I don't know. I see both sides, but David, what are your thoughts?
It's an ugly situation all around. I mean, I pretty much already gave my thoughts. I'll say this too. I saw this yesterday that the Red Sox were engaging. So the Red Sox engaged with the Giants about a month ago. Buster Posey said that, the general manager of the Giants, Buster Posey, he said that at the press conference yesterday that Devers trade talks started with the Giants about a month ago. They got more intense in the last week and a half. And one reason, I don't know if this is for a holdup, but the Red Sox initially requested the top first base prospect of the Giants, Bryce Eldridge, to come back to the Red Sox in this trade. Obviously, we're looking for a first baseman. I mean, that's a reasonable request from the Red Sox side in terms of roster construction. But the Giants were insistent on not including him because it's rumored, as far as I took it, the Red Sox wanted Eldridge and the Giants eat the remaining 250+ million of Devers' contract. So
That's where
the return
yeah.
the return is what it is. Like, I don't think it has the potential to be as bad as people are saying it's going to be. I mean, we just really don't know.
We
But the
don't.
real reason why people got to understand that the return is not going to be incredible when you are asking a team to eat 250+ million of a contract. Like, you lose a lot of your leverage in negotiations when you include that as part of the deal. So, it's a lot of lottery tickets. I do think the angle is interesting where Andrew Bailey, our pitching coach, was the pitching coach for the Giants, and he's very high on the Hicks
Jordan.
pitcher we got.
Oh, I know about Jordan Hicks because he used to be the Cardinals closer. I'm just saying, my dad, season tickets right next to the bullpen. Not always a fan of his attitude, but I never had a problem with him as a pitcher. I always thought he was on point.
That's a good
So
to know for Red Sox fans. Like, good to know. I know for James Tibbs too. I saw him yesterday in the minor leagues. I do have to say that he's down there in Portland right now. But David, continue your take. Sorry about that.
no, you're good. Just really quickly, that's just an interesting angle there where the Giants makes it's a unique trade partner in the sense that we have a guy like Andrew Bailey who is known to sort of be a great pitching coach. I don't know so much this year or the second half of last year, but he helped make a guy like Tanner Houck an all-star last year. Obviously, it fell off in the second half. He can help with reclamation projects, sort of with Hicks maybe and the other prospects we got. Um, yeah, obviously the simple statistics right now are not promising for the guys that we got from the Giants, but I know a lot of people are hyped about the advanced stats and all that. But again, you lose all your leverage when the big win, which is what Seamus talked about, is a team eating 250 million off a contract. Now we can use that money, sign. The rumors are we're still going to buy at the deadline. We're looking for a controllable piece that makes a decent amount of money to acquire at the deadline. I don't know who the heck that could be. I honestly wouldn't even be mad if we give out an extension to a guy like a Bregman, Roman Anthony, or Marcelo Meyer. Like, I'm all for locking up our players like what we've been doing. And, Roman Anthony's going to be an interesting one down the line because he has already said he is not willing to entertain extension talks at all with the Red Sox. Like, he is willing to bet on himself. And obviously, I think that's a great move for him. We don't know how he's going to pan out. Obviously, he's the number one ranked prospect in baseball heading into this season. He homered a couple nights ago. Meyer, we're gonna have to pay these guys, and I don't think we're gonna get them on discounts like we got for Rafaela and Christian Campbell. So really, there's no way in my mind. I mean, obviously there is a way, but there's no way in my mind or there's a couple different avenues that I would be happy with the Red Sox allocating this free money up, whether it be for extensions or for a trade or acquiring a free agent at some point.
Yeah, it's definitely a talk for sure. And it definitely hit me hard when I saw the Devers jersey was taken off of yesterday at the Sea Dogs. That definitely hit hard because I love Devers as a player, and I'm sad that the 2018 team is gone. It makes me feel old. But with that being said, that's going to do it for the show, you guys. Thank you guys again so much for watching episode 50. Can't believe we made it this far already, but make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications to be notified every time we upload, because this offseason is going to be crazy. We're going to have a lot of posts, and we're going to have draft episodes and the fan series. So make sure you tune in. Make sure to like and subscribe. We will see you guys with the next one. Peace, guys.